Hi, everybody. Welcome to Mat Chat. This is our special series that we've created so that we can really get to know all the people that have chosen to make yoga a part of their life. And now more than ever, I really feel that people are really understanding that yoga is so beneficial, especially after everything that we've all been through. So my name is Donna Rubin, Bode NYC. And today, our first guest is Carolyn Cummins. And I am really excited to be talking to Carolyn because honestly, a few years ago, we met. We don't live in the same city. Carolyn lives in Austin, Texas. I'm in New York, but we met at an event and I was extremely impressed with her and kept her in my mind all these years. And here we are a few years later, because of the fact that we can all work from home now and we have Zoom and we have all these other options, now I'm able to not only work with Carolyn because she's now become our marketing director, but also I can interview her as well. And this is all part of our new Mat Chat. So welcome, Carolyn. Thank you so much for joining. And maybe you could just give a couple of minutes about just who you are, a little bit of your background, before I start to ask you a few questions.
So. Yes, great. All right. Thanks, Donna, so much for letting me be here. I'm very excited to talk with you. I started my yoga journey in 2006 in Dallas with David and Karen Buckner, and decided soon after I wanted to become a teacher. And that really came to fruition when I went to a women's retreat in Austin that Marty and Jeff had put on, and Rajashree was there. And I just loved the energy and the camaraderie, the friendship. And I knew then that I wanted to be a teacher, but it took me a couple of years to get there. I graduated in 2010 and opened up my own studio in 2014. And then I decided to close my studio ultimately to help my sister-in-law open up her restaurant. But I decided that I had a love more for yoga than restaurants. And I decided to go back to teaching and started working for Marty and Jeff in Austin, Texas. And I decided that I really wanted to help more people. And so I've been doing business consulting now for a couple of years, helping studios be successful.
So what was your background before you sort of got into the whole yoga world? Like what background, or what were you hoping that you would be when you grew up, when you were first, in school or whatever? What was your sort of main, passion before the whole yoga world?
Well, my main passion as a young person was ironically to be a teacher. I told my mom that when I was a very young person. And it took me a long time to get here, but I have ultimately become a teacher. My normal corporate life was a myriad of jobs that really taught me all the things that I need to help other people be successful. I have done inside sales, outside sales, cold calling, just in general marketing. I was in charge of a division called Ancillary Services of one of the largest community association companies in the United States, and sold programs to our internal staff, who then ultimately sold those to our clients. It was a time when social media was really booming and companies were just learning how to navigate that area. And so I started early in the corporate world, figuring out how social media would work for businesses. And so that's really helped me to understand the platforms and then be able to help other people with that. And so I've been in sales and marketing for over 30 years in a variety of different industries and markets. And that's really helped me to help other people.
Well, that's pretty smart to be able to use your past experience and then now combine it with, your sort of passion for yoga. Did you have like a sort of an aha moment where all of a sudden at a certain point you sort of like, how did you get into yoga to begin with? Did you stumble in the door or somebody told you about yoga? Like, how did that happen?
I stumbled in the door, and almost literally, I had been going to a gym in Austin and I moved to Dallas. the studio was right next to the grocery store that I went to. So it was really out of pure laziness that I ended up going to the studio, because it was the closest thing to where I was already going. And I walked in, I took class. Christina Vargas, who is a good friend of mine in Dallas, was my very first teacher. And I will never forget, in rabbit pose, we came out and she said, "Oh, you're doing a great job. There's only 45 minutes left in class." And I just about died. I was hot. I was annoyed. I left just not feeling like it was a great class. And my dad years later asked me, he was like, "Why did you go back? It sounded awful." And I was like, well, I said, it was yoga and it can't be that hard. So I had to go back because I was so frustrated that it was hard that I had to sort of overcome that challenge. And then I just fell in love with everything about it. And I went for a physical workout, and I realized years later that I really needed more of the mental help, which I didn't realize until my boss at the time. I was arguing with him about something going on at work, and he just stopped me and was like, "Are you still going to yoga?" And I was like, "I don't have time to go to yoga. I'm going here and here and doing all this stuff. I don't have any time for that." And he just paused and he said, "I think you need to go back to yoga." And I was like, okay. And so I've always said that I practice yoga so for other people, so that I'm a nicer person to be around. And it's really been fantastic to realize that it's more than just the physical. And I've enjoyed both aspects of it.
Well, it's a familiar story. We hear that a lot, you know, did you hear the saying, "I came for vanity, but I stay for sanity"? Have you heard that saying?
Oh, I haven't heard that one. That one's good.
Isn't that great? I
Yes.
came for vanity, but I stay for sanity. That's pretty good, right?
I love it. I love it.
Yeah. And then, so when you started and then all of a sudden after practicing, how long did you decide that you wanted to be a teacher? Like, what brought you to that sort of point where you felt like you wanted to share what your experience or whatever?
I had been going to yoga for a couple years. David and Karen had encouraged me to compete in the yoga championships, which I had done a couple of different times by then. And really what I think was transformational was being part of a community. The Dallas yoga community at that studio was very tight, and it was very connected. And my job was not that. And so I felt very much like I belonged someplace when I was at the studio and doing yoga events. And then Karen invited me down to the women's retreat in Austin, and Rajashree was the main speaker. Everybody that was there, I think I was maybe one of a handful of students, but the majority of people were studio owners. And I just looked around and they got along. They all were laughing and having a good time. And it just seemed like an environment that I wanted to be a part of, because that was not how my corporate life was. My corporate life, I was very successful and I was happy for a lot of years, but the last few years were a real challenge. And I decided at that point that I wanted to be part of this happy family of yoga. And like I said, it took me a couple of years to make that happen, because teacher training was 9 weeks of vacation to me, because I didn't have to think about a thing. Everybody told me where to go and what to do and what to say. And I was like, I got it. It's perfect.
So you were really ready for a major sort of transformation in your life, and sort of going through being a yogi and just attending the classes that you were attending. It almost like naturally brought you to this new state of mind in which you realized that maybe there was something else out there in the world for you, until the point where you were sort of ready to make that commitment. And now you're able to share that with others. So yeah, yeah. It's a familiar story, but I tell you, it's like, it's amazing when you get that sort of aha moment when that sort of happens, you know, and realize there's something else out there in the world, even though you've been in the same thing for so many years. And like you said, successful and, you know, worked hard and, you know, it all seemed all good until one day you realize, maybe there's more out there. So,
Yeah.
well, you did it. And so I'm going to ask you one more question. What is your special sauce as a teacher? Like, what is it that you like enjoy, you know, to bring to your class that you sort of feel maybe is unique to you, let's say, as a yoga instructor?
I would say, based on my students' feedback, that it's my ability to help them in their practice, whether that be with corrections through their physical practice or helping them through a difficult time, connecting with the students. The greatest joy of teaching is for a student to say to you that a point in class, something connected with them that transformed them in some way, whether that be that they had this aha moment and so now they're able to go deeper into a pose, or if that released something in their mind and now they have less stress, they're not worried about things, maybe their life is going in a different direction. Changing people's lives, helping people positively change their lives is one of the best things in the world. And I just love it when students mention, you know, that something I said or did with them in class or maybe after class had an impact with them.
Well, I think that's fantastic. I mean, you're right. There's nothing better than that, right? I mean, in a profession now that can change people's lives. I mean, literally transform people's lives. So I'm grateful for you that you chose to be a teacher. And I'm really happy that I had a chance to chit chat with you. And thank you for joining me on Mat Chat. And I'm just going to say bye to everybody and we will see you next time.